A very good evening, and thanks for clicking on to Vogan's European Outlook for Thursday, the 27th of July. I have to hold my hand up and say I'm a bit of a numpty. I know I make mistakes, but I'm really frustrate myself sometimes because I'm desperate to deliver accurate information when it comes to whether it be statistics or any sort of information. Quite honestly, I hate when I get things incorrect. And I have to hold my hand up and say that I got one aspect to yesterday's video grossly incorrect. And that was not so much that July is going to be cooler than June, and that's going to be the first time since 1970 that that's occurred, believe it or not. But the fact that I said 32.2 Celsius was achieved in June, which it was, but in July it wasn't. And for some strange reason, I had it in my head 32.2 was also achieved earlier on this month. And our friend Tryon Bruin kindly pointed out to me that that was incorrect. It was, in fact, 30.2 Celsius, and that was achieved earlier in the month at Chertsey. Is that how you pronounce it? I think it is. And that 30.2 Celsius for a maximum, because we know we're not going to get there before the end of the month, is the fifth coolest July maximum for the British Isles since 2003. If I'm right in saying that, this is a tweet here that was put out 22 hours ago in Shrine's Twitter feed. Please follow him on Twitter if you haven't already done so. He delivers some terrific information, amazing statistics when it comes to weather stuff, and I greatly appreciate his contribution on the Twitter sphere. But this is the lowest to highest July maximums since 2003, and of course 2007 is right up there with the coldest maximum of 24.7. 2011 is a close second ish at 27.4. 2004 we had a 30.1, 2008 30.2, and it in fact ties it, so it's actually the fourth. It's a tie for the fourth lowest July maximum since 2003, and of course right down at the very bottom of the pile is 40.3, which was achieved, of course, last year. So August, how's it looking? I think you've got the rough idea that it's going to be a fairly changeable month, especially through the first half. What we do have is we've got a bit of a shift in the upper air pattern. We're now starting to see the upper air flow rather than this big wavy pattern where we've got the big ridge over the North Atlantic. We've got the trough anchored over the UK and Ireland here. Possibly underestimated how wet this July was going to be, if I'm being honest with you, but I was very reluctant to call for a very wet July. But my hunch was warm sea surface temperatures, developing El Nino. The developing El Nino of 2012 stung me big time, and I've learned, I think, from that 2012 event that the forecast warm and dry, but always be cautious when you've got developing El Nino. We had, of course, a very wet summer overall in 2012. We've seen quite a changeable back and forward in 2015. We've had quite a lot of similarities between 2015 and 2023. The difference being not as extreme. We've not seen the 36.7 Celsius. By then, at that point in time, it was the warmest July day on record, I believe, for the UK. And it wasn't quite as extreme as that. But of course, we did see the big flip that was expected, that was forecast since back in May on this channel, that we would see warm, dry June, cooler, wetter July. But I really struggled with the below average call because of the very warm sea surface temperature anomalies surrounding the British Isles here, increasing not just cloud cover with low pressure, but also increasing the humidity levels as well. Of course, you increase humidity levels, nighttime temperatures tend to stay up, but we've seen a bit of a drop off during the second half of this month in terms of nighttime lows, and it looks as if July will wind up below the average for July overall over the past 30 years, of course. So the big turnaround is coming, and you can see that here quite clearly of the GFS Ensemble here. So this is the North Atlantic view, And what we've got going here is we're starting to see a flattening. We're starting to see a lowering of heights in the middle latitudes and a rise of heights further south. So therefore, much more kind of flatter zonal type of situation developing here, and it's quite nicely marked on this 500 millibar geopotential anomaly here. You now start to see these areas of low pressure all lined up nicely. Basically from west to east, we've got one deep area of low pressure between Greenland and the UK here. That is going to be our next problem maker. What a wet day across England yesterday. We had sunshine, by the way, pretty much all day up here to the north of Inverness, and further south it was a bit of a washout, I think, across the bulk of England and Wales during the course of yesterday. We're going to see more rain towards the end of the month here, folks. We're going to also see more wind as well. But notice here that we've now lost essentially that block over the North Atlantic here. So therefore the NAO is going from negative, which has been pretty much all summer long, by the way. Incredible stuff, actually. I'm quite interested to find out the statistics with regards to a negative NAO summer. When was the last time that happened? Possibly 2017, possibly 2015, I don't know. 2009, 10, and 11, it wouldn't surprise me, actually. Even 2012, I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure Richard Trott or a few other folks, including Shrine, may be able to enlighten me with that. The fact that the NAO, when was the last time we had a June, July, pretty much predominantly negative of the NAO, but it's going neutral. You notice that here, starting to go up towards neutral, so that's the flatter look that we're seeing off the GFS Ensemble, and you can see that taking place here. So of course, when you start to increase the gradient between warm in the subtropics, cool to the south of Greenland, once those two come together, the jet stream strengthens up, and as that jet powers up, unseasonably strong for late July, early August, you're going to get a very mobile, very unsettled theme. Remember I said to you that we may see the jet go north, we may see it go south. Depending on that position, depends on the type of temperature that we're going to see here in the UK and Ireland. But it looks as if it stays relatively to the south of the UK. We're in that cooler theme, and it just looks as if we're going to continue this theme July into August, the same situation, low pressure dominance, keeping things below average temperature wise for the next couple of weeks here. I think through at least the first half of August, we're going to see this pattern maintain itself. Now, notice here, as we step into the month of August, now in the GFS Ensemble, we see a bit of a split in the trough taking place. Notice here that we start to see that ridge near the Azores poke its nose up towards Greenland. It splits that trough to the north. One branch drops into North America, one branch drops into the UK and Ireland here. So we may reinforce that very chilly, rather unsettled theme as we push through week 1 of August here. So you see that taking place, more northwesterly component of the upper air flow. So temperatures are never going to really warm up with a northwesterly airflow any time of the year, never mind during the summer season. And you notice here that in the ensemble through Saturday, of course, next week, and so not this upcoming Saturday, but the following Saturday, you notice here that we've got that negative, or positive, should I say, sorry, now up into the North Atlantic. So it shuts down that jet stream, so we start to see that pattern starting to become more wavy once again, but the troughs are falling back into the places that we've seen during much of July, eastern North America and the west and northwest of Europe here. So that is very interesting when we look at the overall month of August, generally speaking. This is taking us out to the 8th. Notice here we've still got that negative over the UK and Ireland here. And even by the time we reach the 10th, the 12th, you've not got a ridge over the British Isles. It's over the North Atlantic and it's to the south of the UK here overall. So looking at the month of August, if we get to the right chart, I will show you exactly what August is looking like off the model here. So there is August. Let's have a look at the CFSV2 monthly here, and that is August here. My hunch, folks, would be that we've got negative to the north, positive to the south. We have introductions. We've got that chance of seeing something warmer coming up from the south. So we're going to have heat across Iberia, parts of France, with low pressure to the north, always cooler, always more unsettled the further west and north you go over the UK and indeed Ireland. But this is the CFSV2 of the for August. This is the 500 millibar geopotential and height anomalies here. Precipitation wise, it's looking wetter to the north, drier to the south, which is quite interesting. And temperature wise here off the model, it's looking like this here. So we actually got below average now starting to show up for the month of August, which is quite rare these days. And wouldn't it be fascinating if we had a cool July and a cool August? And that may actually make for a very interesting overall statistic for the June through August period, if this was to materialize, of course. And yeah, I'm also watching this space with regards to sea surface temperatures. Do we start to see a little bit of a cool patch developing over the North Atlantic? Warm to the north, cool in between, and then warm to the south. That's a bit of a tripole over the North Atlantic. Watch this space when it comes to the latter part of the autumn into winter season here. And of course, that negative NAO summer may correlate to something interesting towards the late autumn, early winter in terms of cold conditions. So yeah, very interesting stuff indeed. I want to look at my forecast for August now. This is off the summer forecast, and I will have the August outlook, sorry, in the next day or two. But this is what I said for the month of August. August could become the warmest month for Europe. Yeah, we've had a lot of heat across southern and central Europe here, and I'll look back at July. We'll quantify exactly what's taking place versus the summer forecast down the road here. But particularly south and east, with heat wave conditions developing. Meanwhile, low pressure could dominate in the means close or over the UK as possible influence of the El Nino, with feedback of the warm surrounding sea surface temperatures. Warm waters could enhance rainfall potential. Now, of course, the tropics becomes more involved in the pattern during the second half of the summer, so that needs to get taken into account as well with regards to the forecast. Low pressure in the means, however, doesn't mean warmth cannot pay a visit, with possible hot conditions over Iberia or the near continent. Means we should see a couple of brief plumes of heat lifting north from Spain up to the UK and edging in off the near continent. But overall, I think low pressure wins the battle. I think for Northwest Europe, August is slightly below average and wet, more so for Northern Ireland and Scotland, possibly Northwest England and Wales. Slightly warmer, less wet in the south and east of England, closest to the continent. Depending upon the MJO, we also must consider an increase in tropical activity that may enhance the wet pattern. And folks, this was an August forecast put out here on marfoganweather.com back in May, and quite honestly, I think I'm going to go for this. I'm actually leaning towards the ideas that I had way back 2 months ago, which is pretty rare stuff actually. Usually I have to abandon in a seasonal forecast. I usually have to abandon one of the months because they've went wrong, but I'm quite liking what I see with regards to the August ideas that I put out way back earlier in the month. So let's end the video before I run out of time. We'll maintain this unsettled theme as we go towards the month of August here. It looks as if week one may see the jet stream kind of loosen its grip a little bit. That flat westerly flow, we might start to see more ridging developing over the North Atlantic, northwesterly flow, but low pressure will continue to dominate the pattern, folks, as we step out of July into August. And this is a very interesting overall situation here. You notice here as we play through the final day of July, we've got low pressure in charge of the pattern here. More systems coming in off the Atlantic. There's that high developing over the North Atlantic. Northerly flow, that is not a warm flow at any time of the year, never mind midsummer. So you get the overall ideas. Finally, 850 anomalies. So this is the 850 temperature anomalies. You can see here that we do have some flipping cold air. I said flipping, not something else, by the way. I'm getting myself carried away here, and I've got into trouble for saying that word before, but it's my accent. You can see here, look at this, cold 850s compared to average coming down from the north here. So, yeah, patience is a virtue, of course. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you again hopefully tomorrow with more. Bye for now.